Welcome to the Cracking the Growth Code podcast, where we explore practical growth and leadership insights to take you and your organization to the next level. I'm your host, Matt Zembruski, and I'm honored to have as my guest today, Alberto Silveira. Alberto is a passionate leader, author of the book, Building and Managing High-Performance Distributed Teams. He's a speaker and a CTO dedicated to inspiring the tech leadership community. Through his talks and influence in the community, he brings visibility to the often overlooked aspects of building software, showcasing the genuine value delivered by high-performance software teams. Alberto, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much, Matt. It's a pleasure to be here. Super excited to our conversation ahead.
I'm equally excited to share all the nuggets of wisdom and experience that you have with our audience. So let's jump right into it. For our audience who may not know you as well, can you introduce your company, your role there to our listeners? Let them know what you're up to, what you're passionate most about in the market right now.
Absolutely. The way I like to put this, Matt, is like my specialty is to build high-performance teams. So my role currently, I'm the CTO at LawnStarter. LawnStarter is the leader platform connecting homeowners and providers. So, and you can think anything about any service, outdoor service in your house. We are connecting. So, from convenience of your mobile app or like in the web, you need someone mowing your lawn. You need like a bush trim, pest control, or like anything, any service you can think outdoor in your house. That's what we do at LawnStarter. And it's been an incredible journey so far. I'm turning 4 years already. Oh my goodness, that time flies. And it's been a pretty fun journey again. I typically get companies, at the moment that they understand where they want to go. They understand their North Star, but they need help putting the people, the processes for execution, so they can achieve their North Star. So that's basically what I do. That's basically what I'm passionate about, and that's what LawnStarter does. Yeah,
that's exciting. So when you say businesses, and you're talking about the businesses that then serve the residential communities, right? So it's a direct-to-consumer offering, but we're
like the platform in between. Think about like Uber. We don't like to compare with Uber itself, but you have a passenger and you have a driver and you have a platform that connecting both. That's what we do. So it's not like just we have like so much technology at LawnStarter to make that safe people with verified people with background check. We only have like providers that can communicate that are legit and safe for you actually have in your house, and from the provider side, can you imagine how many more jobs you can get in a day if you're in the LawnStarter platform versus you're not? It's providers that join LawnStarter platform can literally double or sometimes even triple the number of jobs they can get in a day, because we optimize the routes. We actually make things easier for them, and they do what we allow them to do what they know how to do best, which is their service, not actually managing everything else.
Yes, that's fantastic. I love that. It's so needed in the marketplace today, because everybody sees, I see a lot of the lawn, a lot of the outdoor companies with service providers. Living in a neighborhood where I live, there's a lot of these service providers, and a lot of times they're running all over the town or running all over multiple towns. Whereas if they consolidated or made things more optimal with their routes, which is your company's experience.
And for us consumers, it's just so much easier. Many people after the pandemic primarily work from home, and like you are busy doing so many things. Like you don't have like, hey, like now I have to stop my meeting. I have to go out there, like talk with like my guy. Like that's how we say, right? It's like all that is time and like we're like in a modern era, right? So we need to be like in our fingerprints and like communicate and make. We have to keep moving on and focus our time on what matters the most. Back in the day, I used to actually mow my lawn myself, and I said, like, why am I doing this? Unless people love doing that, that's time that I can be with my family. I can do being something else. So, LawnStarter is like solving that kind of problem.
That's fantastic. Thank you for describing that. Let's talk about the topic of leadership. And
Yes.
that's one of the recurring themes in our podcast here. How would you define leadership?
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Uh, I would, using my own words, I would say leadership it's when you can influence people. It's when you can get a group of people, motivate that group of people to achieve a collective goal. Sounds trivial and easy, but it's quite complicated. Keep human beings connected, keep human beings being part of the mission and the journey. It's a mix of science and art. That's kind of like my definition for leadership. And being a leader myself for many years. In fact, when I look back, even when I was a kid, I was a leader because I was already organizing soccer tournaments in my neighborhood, putting many teams together, and that was like the leadership. And then, like, when people like and admire what you do and keep following you, those are good indications of like leadership.
I love that. It is part art, part science. I totally agree with that. And you've built organizations. You've written one book and now a second book coming out about high performing teams and distributed teams. You know, such a big topic in the world. I have a lot of background in agile project management, all this over the last 30 years, and that is a big topic today. And when you put leadership with high performing teams together, you know, how important do you think it is to hire and grow strong leaders in the organization, whether it's a leader for a team or like yourself, you're leading a whole division or the whole engineering organization? How important would you value leadership as one of the qualities of a candidate who's coming into one of your companies?
I think it's very important. That's the short answer. It's like it's so important that it's critical. It's like I don't know. It's hard to think in success or a successful organization without having strong, solid, united leadership. And I actually emphasize the word united. You may have like many leaders in your organization. If they're not united, sharing the same collective North Star, as I like to say, and I mention a lot about that in my book, the likelihood for things to start going wrong, it's pretty high. In my experience, being part of organizations or either as full-time or giving consulting, that's one of the first things that I say. It's like the leadership in the North Star needs to be very well defined. And as you are bringing people to your team, it's not about like the person that knows technology A or technology B, whatever technology you might use. Technology comes and goes, frameworks comes and goes, you know, but people is, again, I'm sounding obvious here, but I don't get tired of saying that because people is what will make your company successful. Period. That's it. And then if you can actually put like people and processes, wow, you are like way ahead of like a larger number of like companies. And then yes, the technology. Let's not even get started on the AI wave, as everyone says, every other word says AI. But I'm trying to say is when you're bringing leaders or when you're bringing people to your organization, solid North Star leaders on the organization that they are aligned, and then bringing people note that I don't use the word resource. I say people, bringing people, because that matters. The choice of word matters. And then that's how you're going to actually be building structure that will propel your business forward. 100%.
Yeah, it's a fantastic answer. I'm with you. Put people first. I know that's really important to you. It's very important to me as well. And that's one of my pet peeves too, when people use the word resources to talk about people.
That actually hurts.
Yeah, it's not. That's not. That could be a computer monitor or a cable or something like that.
Something that's not a human.
Yeah, not a human though. And I think that's actually, yeah, and that's one of the things you mentioned, AI as well. There's a lot of talk going on. There's the human factor is still critically important, and putting people first at the center of that. And let's talk about hiring for a minute. Like when I'm guessing that you've hired a number of people over the years, because you built a number of solid teams and high performing teams, and that's the objective of teams, is not to sit there and just be busy, but to be high performing. When you hire someone new to join your company now or in the past, what would you say are the top 3 attributes you're really looking for in a candidate?
Top 3. So to start with, I would say every single team that I've built, I try really hard to hire people based on who they are versus what they can show off in an interview. What does that mean, Alberto? It's a very good question. I'm asking answer my own question here. So hiring people based on who they are versus what they can show off in an interview. What I mean by that is many organizations, they get obsessed again about the technical piece. And then let's say that you are hiring engineers, and then you come up with coding home tests where you ask people for them to do things on their own time to code some project.
Yeah.
I interviewed many times. I started my career as like a software engineer. I'm graduated in computer science back in the day. Like I made the whole I coded for many years. Not as much today. I still love, but not my main thing these days. But you don't want to create an environment when you're interviewing where people feel intimidated. You want to interview people and make them feel comfortable enough as you invite them to your own house. Because here's what happens if you don't do that. People will make up stuff, or they will get so nervous and so tension, with the whole thing, that they will not be able to demonstrate the best version of themselves. When that happens, that the problem is not the person that's being interviewed. It's your process that needs to be redefined. So that's like the first thing. Create an environment where people are welcomed, that the people that are being interviewed feel comfortable, that they can show the best version of themselves. So that's number 1. Once you can create that, like what I'm looking for is not necessarily people need to know all the answers. Actually, if you know everything, I mean, who knows everything? So I'm looking people that they have self-awareness, that they are humble, that they are eager to win. They love winning. They are like that desire of that spark, that fire, that I don't know, but I'm gonna figure it out. Right? It doesn't matter if you if I'm hiring for an individual contributor, an engineer, a front engineer, back-end engineer, data engineer. It doesn't matter the specialty. All these things apply. So there's a lot of on the personality. That's one of the things that attitude, personality, transparency, honest on the answers. I actually follow, I think you can see this one of my books here.
I was going to ask you about that. Who is right behind you?
The Who book. A lot of my interview process is inspired on the Who book. I modified that for the questions. The approach is the same, but I modified that to allow. And then, yes, and last but not least, so hire people based on who they are, not what they can show off in an interview. It's like one aspect of like interviewing high performers. Then the second is a lot of about the attitude, the transparency, the go-getting, like the attitude. And the third, yes, indeed, I build teams that write software products. So the technical aspect, it's key. But instead of like giving like home tasks, like here's one example for whatever is listening to us. Don't do that. Here's what I like to do. Remember, you have to make people comfortable. I actually say, bring your own code. I do not want, I have my interview process, Matt, is no surprises. From beginning, when I start talking with a candidate, until they get hired, until full transparency, no surprise. What does that mean? I will not be asking you random questions like how to actually implement a reverse binary tree, or like, no. Google create that in the past. If that works for them, awesome. It doesn't work for like high performance teams that I build. They are successful their own ways. I like to hire like other people that are like that creates a much more humanized environment. For me, having a team that's connected and human, so no surprise. And then one of the characteristics that allows me to do that is bringing your own code. That's how we're gonna actually be talking about it. If it's a product manager, oh, like we're gonna be talking about this kind of problem. You can even research, use Google, use whatever you like, AI, like ChatGPT. If you're doing that, it means that you're actually even interested already, like you actually already building. So all those kind of stuff, like, so those are like the three things that I use to actually be hiring in my processes. And these are like the three top things that I use like while we're hiring. Does that make sense? I'm not sure if I answered the question like a little, it was a long answer to say those three things, but I hope like it was interesting, at least.
It's very interesting. I took some notes as well, just like, creating a safe environment is sort of like the pre-answer to the question, which is perfect. You're right. You want to create a safe environment. And you and I think a lot alike with this, because then you went into the who, like who is the person, what really motivates them, what inspires them, and what's their attitude like. And then you went into tech skills, later. Obviously, they need to be able to do the job. So I think that's fantastic. I'm curious, what's a question or two? You gave some examples, like bring your own code. What's a question or two that you might love to ask in interviews to really help evoke some of that learning from yourself about a candidate?
I will give you two. Like one of my favorites is like very open-ended. Like, so if we are following like the who process, like you go through like the experience from that person, all the candidate needs to know is about their whatever they did in the past and their careers. That's it. Like no preparation required. If you actually got up to this point in your career, if you can talk about that, thumbs up. Believe it or not, many people cannot talk about what they did, and that's a problem.
Yeah.
But the question number one, that one of the questions that I like to ask is like, what challenge did you have being a senior engineer on company X during 2019 to 2020? Tell me one challenge. The person is gonna say, "Oh, there was a time like maybe that was like like early in 2020. There was the pandemic. Our site started to getting a lot more volume and like users, and we had the scalability issues." Oh, all right, good. And then the follow-up question is, what did you do to overcome that challenge? Mm-hmm. So what's the challenge and what did you do to overcome that challenge? That can tell so much about what that person, what were like the contributions, the self-awareness, how in depth, how committed that person was. There's so much you can get from that simple question. So that's one of my favorite questions. And the second question is, at the end, I ask like, For each position, I ask like, what your peers or even the person that you report to, uh, what do you think they would tell about yourself if I ask like how did you perform, like, and
Mm.
what do you think that they would say? This question is I got over the years so many interesting answers, but one of the main things that I try to get here, Matt, is self-awareness. Is like, are do they know if they are team players? They know how to collaborate. My teams are. In order to have a high performance team, you have to have humans communicate, collaborating, enjoying to be on that journey together. And then when you get people saying, "Oh, I work in isolation, I work in a silo," or like, "I was the best for everyone," so you kind of find the self awareness and like, wow, what's going on here, and you can determine if that actually is a good fit culturally for your team, for your company at that given point in time.
I love that. It's a very unique answer. The second question that you're asking about self-awareness, it's a really cool way to ask that. And then it sort of gets into their head, like how aware are they of external perceptions of them? Like how are they a good contributor? Do they communicate well and do they play well in a team?
And it's important, Matt. I ask it for like a number 1 to 10, where 10 you're like, people say that they would love to work with you again, and
Yeah.
and one, like, I don't think they would give. They're like people throughout the entire process. Oh, I'm a 10. I'm a 10. I'm a 10. Said, oh my goodness, I just met like someone here that. But it's interesting. Like I'm. There's nothing wrong on being really good in a job, and I'm not saying that's not possible. What I'm trying to say is there's always something new for you to learn.
Yes.
There's always an opportunity for you to improve. If you always say that you are always a 10, it doesn't fit much with like the culture that I like to build. I like to say to my teams is the opposite. Is like the day you stop learning, it becomes boring. In fact, I will be the first to help you to find a new job because you're going to be bored, and that's not the kind of people that I want on the team. So a 10 for me, it just doesn't work. So because of that reason. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It makes very good sense. I like that a lot. I'm a big proponent of continuous learning, and I would even say now I've changed it a little bit starting this year. It's like aggressive continuous learning. I think is really important for everybody to take advantage of what's happening personally and professionally. There's just so much out there, and things are moving so fast. If you're not learning, you're falling so far behind the curve.
And what's the point in life? Is like learning is so fun. It's like it's part of like our DNA as humans,
Yeah, exactly. You're learning some new things. It's exciting. You don't know what's around the corner. Like, let's go learn. Let's go do this.
It don't need to be too common. It could be a simple thing or a small thing, like whatever that might be. Like as long as you continuously learning is and in a company when you have people accepting the fact that they are not learning, that can get really dangerous. It means that you're stagnated. And if you're not moving and if you're stagnated, you're actually moving backwards. So
exactly, I agree. Let me throw an extra question in here for you, because we both are passionate about the topic of learning. What's your favorite way to learn, or I guess what's one of your habits for learning? Are you listening to audiobooks? Are you watching videos, reading? Like, what do you do? A little bit of everything. What's your favorite?
My favorite is actually connecting with other people. And I try to do that a lot in person whenever it's possible. I'm in Austin, Texas, so I try to go to communities and meetups, any event that I can go in person. I try to attend. I work from home every day, so I have like my limit of screen time, and then I try to socialize and humanize whenever I can. So that's my favorite. There's many other ways that if I go to the gym and I put like a podcast and go to the treadmill and I'm actually listening to something, I can be like an hour, and make my exercise and and learn from a podcast. Those are like the two primary ways. And goes without saying, I learned by doing.
I love it.
So I love to just try and get my hands dirty, and I do. So in my teams, I'm a very hands-on leader. I'm constantly creating processes. I'm constantly improving, meeting with my teams, writing documentations, writing new processes, improving existing ones, eliminating some. So that's how I learn. It's like real life doing. So between meeting people in person, which is a lot of fun, especially in a world where you stay home too long, podcasts are like amazing. I love podcasts, and definitely learn by doing.
I love it. Having the practitioner side of you is so important, because that's where I read a post on LinkedIn today where they were talking about how you can't just read the book, you can't just learn, you have to apply, and you have to apply in a human to human way, is what I would call it, where there's empathy and so forth. You can't just say, oh, I read this in a textbook and this is how I'm going to make a new friend, and then go apply it, right? You got to practice it. You got humans to humans. You have to put it in. You're molding the clay. So I love how you talk about learning by doing, because it's so important.
It's crucial. Just give you like an example, Matt, without detouring too much. Like one of my recent topics that I've been writing articles, and that's what the new book is going to be about, is measuring the productivity of software teams. How do you get like individual contributor? Like you have like any company is investing some money in their software teams, and the two largest expenses in a company, in a SaaS company, is people and typically the cloud. It used to be like a physical space, but we're like in a different era now.
Yeah.
Now, it's a very challenging topic because there's so many metrics. Things have changed so much, and how I'm doing this? I'm learning and applying that to my teams, and applying to like friends, CTOs and CEOs, and making that cycle of learning, developing a new methodology, trying to develop new metrics, new processes, and applying and doing it. So that is the fun part of it.
It is fun. It is fun. I like how you put people in the middle of all that as well. Let's talk about could be the industry, could be your company. I know you have a lot of experience across different companies, and you've consulted with a number of firms too. What do you, in today's day and age, we hear AI all the time, but with everything that's out there, what do you think is one of the biggest challenges facing companies today, or facing the industry today? What does it have to do with the people and hiring the right people? Is it retaining people? Is it have to do with processes or AI? Or what do you think is a big challenge that's facing people today?
I typically say growing any business, especially the software business, is the number of distractions that you have. There's so many signals that we have to be looking at, and if you're not ready for that, if your organization is not ready, those signals can easily become distractions for your organization, including AI. Mm-hmm. Everyone is talking about AI, but is that the right time for your organization? I'm not saying that AI is bad. I think AI is a new revolution. It's a big wave. You want to surf that now? Are you ready for that? But at the end of the day, Matt, the bottom line, it is 1,000%, in my opinion and experience, it's people. So I find fascinating, look back, 2023. And it was like the largest layoffs in the tech industry that ever happened. At least I have over 20 years of experience that I ever seen.
Yes.
So, you know how many people I laid off or like I let it go? Zero.
I was going to say, I hope it's zero.
Zero. How come? Well, if you if you if you can plan, if you can be respectful to people, respectful to your own business, not over like this thing of overhiring. For me, this is, I'm sorry, you're not doing your job well.
Yeah.
If you hire like crazy and then you lay off crazy, it's because you're treating people as resources. And I think you're so dated, so dated. And people, this is actually a very good topic, Matt. And I'm very passionate about this because it blows my mind. People talk about diversity and inclusion. People talk about humanization and talking about all those things. And then they overhire and put people and family like in very weird situations because they leaders didn't do their job well. And I'm not saying like mistakes can happen. You know, you can overplan, you plan things. And what happened in 2023 is not that. That mass layoffs. Yes, there's the economy, but that was so crystal clear. If you couldn't see that we are living in a bubble, 2022, engineers out of college asking for hundreds, like $150,000 out of college, said, it's not sustainable. I told my CEO, I can't hire that. It's not, the numbers don't match, like it's simple math. So fast forward 2024 now, I really, really believe hiring, retaining the right people in your team will beat any technology, will beat any unforeseen between quotes economic flips or turbulence. I mean, economy is, it's, I mean, how many times we've seen this? It's like it's a cycle. There's like ups and downs, there's turbulence, there's all that kind of stuff. It's somehow predictable, not to the dot, but you can see. The common denominator, it's always, in my opinion, people hire, retain. Everything on top of that is it's completely manageable. It's complete. Take care of your people. You're gonna have like great outcomes. No questions about that. Oh, by the way, there's no magic hiring. Oh, I need X number of people like in 2 weeks. If someone is actually telling me that they can find you the best people overnight, ask the questions about the commitment, align with your culture, align with what you're trying to do, the passion about your customers, the passion about your product. You know, there's no like, short-term answers. Like you have to decide if you're building a product or if you want people to do small projects. There's no right or wrong. I like to build products. In order to build products that customers love, you need the people that are building also love. So I'm all about love, Matt.
Very true.
That was a long answer, but hopefully it makes sense.
It makes very good sense. And I love how you keep bringing it back to hiring the right people, to attracting the right talent, retaining the talent, nurturing and growing the talent. You and I think similar that relationships are best when they're long-term, because I know that's how you talk about all the staff that you have. You're not like, oh, we need someone for a job for a month or 2 months and then they're gone and we're going to go find someone else. You're all about keeping people employed over the long term and keep them growing, like building products, not just little projects, but products.
And I see that a lot on startups, because there's that need that you need to iterate quickly, which is fine, which is totally great, and no problem with that. But your decisions cannot be expecting results overnight. There's a cost for you to find someone there's a cost for you to retain someone. There's a cost for that person to learn, to feel part of the team. So if you're actually expecting that you're gonna just hire and then having immediate results, and you have to have a way to make people to feel part of the team, to understand that, to empower them. There's so much that needs to be done. But when you can get that level of excellence, and that's what I call building a high performance team. And it's no secret. It's like I have people, Matt, that I hired over 20 years ago for 7 different companies that I actually went through, still with me. 6 companies, 5 companies, 4 companies. Every company that I move, people keep. That actually answers your first question, like, what's leadership? Leadership is when people want to follow you. And that just happens naturally. So I'm all about people. One of like my things that I say on my book, and I say in every company, in every team that I'm part of, I build teams with one heart. So it's one team, one heart. That's my motto, and that's what it means. It's like that sense of belonging. That's 100% what I live and breathe.
That's fantastic. I'm really excited about your book, and I want to dive into that more. I think we'll have you back on a future podcast, and we'll just dissect your book, because there's so much in there. I'm passionate about all those topics, everything you're saying. I'd love to.
That would be a pleasure, Matt. That would be a pleasure, and we can talk, and hopefully the audience also enjoys, and we can dive deeper in any section. There's a lot there to cover in order to build a high performance team. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a big deal. I mean, in the agile space, that's all people talk about is how do we help make a team high performing? How do we coach them, lead them, guide them? How do we create the environment? And that's actually my next question for you is, what do you think your organization, from a culture perspective, what do you think your organization today is doing very well in terms of its corporate culture that you've created there?
I would say this: I'm very proud of what we have built here. And I'm sure that my team members would agree with me. And here's why. It wasn't always like that. As any other startup, there's many things that we don't know. But we have the culture of always assuming the good intent. Well, we do have in our core values like the importance of people and collaboration, and being honest and trust, and it's okay to not know. In fact, it's okay to make mistakes, because that's when we learn. Because if we're not making mistakes, it probably means that we're not pushing as hard as we can. But most importantly is learning from them, so we don't make them again. So we have processes to learn from mistakes. We don't call things post-mortem, because the choice of word matters. I talk about this in my book as well. Agile says retro. I love that. Like, let's have a retro about that incident, right? Let's use positive words. There's always many ways you can say things. Mm-hmm. But if you use positive words, you impact our culture, your morale. You're like, you create that. I'm a big believer, Matt, in energy. And that's how I like to lead my teams. Is with positive energies, with positive words, with like the psychological safety. And I get, like I'm part of the team as well. So the culture, I think it's out of this, because it's always hard to say, like, what does culture even mean? And I think this is it's a place where you feel comfortable. It's a place where when it's Sunday night, you're not afraid of Monday morning. You're actually not you have your time for your family, but you're excited to be there. So when you have those things and people are like excited to see each other, they're excited to be part of that community, it means that you have a good culture. And I think we have this at LawnStarter. I think we built this, and it's been a fun ride.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And I love that and how you make because the culture is about the environment that's created. And you started out talking about taking the pride in your work and having teams. And then you wrapped it up by talking about the excitement that people have going to work. I talked to a gentleman, I coached him a little bit in his job search and career over the years, but he had a project or an engagement which just wrapped up, but he was there for 2 years. And he said, Matt, that was the first time where on Sunday night, I was excited. I couldn't wait for Monday morning. He said, my whole team, he was a scrum master for the team. His whole team was excited. Like Monday morning, they're like, all right, we get to go in, we get to build stuff, work together, do things. I'm like, that's exactly what you want work to be. You don't want it to be this, oh boy, Monday morning's here. You want to be excited.
Never underestimate what a motivated team can deliver.
That's a good quote right there. A good quote.
It is. I love these quotes, but this is the brutal reality. Like if you don't have motivated people in your team, you don't have a high performance team, you will not be delivering like great results. It's a whole chain of events. So keeping your people motivated and united towards to your North Star, that's how you move your business forward 100%.
Yeah, so true. So true. Well, as we wrap up, Alberto, I have one more question for you. We have a lot of current and future leaders who listen and watch these podcasts. And so let's boil it down to 3 tips. If you had to go from your experience, your knowledge, your wisdom you've gained over the years, what would be your top 3 tips for leaders today to help take themselves, their organizations to the next level?
Yeah. Invest time knowing your people one by one. Know them intimately and know what they like, what they don't like. Understand their communication style so you can adapt. As you grow as a leader, you need to understand the different communication styles and adapt to them. So that's number 1. Know your people. The number 2 is, and by the way, number 1, know your people, know how to hire, how to retain, how that goes on, know your people.
Mm-hmm.
It's never a waste of time knowing your people. If you're a leader, that's the number 1, no questions, in my opinion, and experience. Number 2, you really need to understand your business. Where are you going? Like, what is your North Star? How do you actually translate that vision into baby steps, as I like to say, or like milestones for you to make sure that you're taking the boat towards that direction, from point A to point B to point C, all the way to that North Star. So you need to understand your customers. You need to understand your external stakeholders, partners. You need to understand your internal stakeholders, everyone, like from marketing to sales to it goes without saying, of course, product, customer success, and so forth. So you as a leader, you need to know your business that goes from metrics to stakeholders to all of that. Yeah. And so know your people, know your business. Number 3, which I think there's lots of leaders that overlook this one, Matt, it's processes. You need repeatable, clean processes. It's unbelievable the number of companies that I actually talk with that they don't have a process for communicating or a single source of truth for what needs to be done or like where to look for the information. So streamlining your synchronous and asynchronous communication, having process to do things. I love write things down. In my teams too, like this is the culture of writing. So I like to say if things are not written down, they just don't exist. So even Jeff Bezos and at Amazon said, like, we go to meetings and we take time to actually read the memo, right? And I'm a big believer of writing, and I don't like to, repeating myself for the same thing twice. So if someone says how to do this, I write it down, and now I have a how-to guide for like just to do that. So create processes, review your processes, and it will pay it off. So know your people, know your business, and know your process.
That's fantastic. Great way to summarize that. There's a lot in there to unpack that, and I know some of that's in your book. So we're gonna have you back on. We're gonna do a deep dive through multiple chapters in your book, because there's a lot more to unpack there. Alberto, thank you so much for your time, your energy, for being here on the podcast. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Likewise, I appreciate the opportunity, Matt. It was a fun conversation, and thank you very much. And hopefully we have like another opportunity. Thanks.